Welcome back, friends. In this video we shall going to discuss the process of photosynthesis. As in the previous video we discussed about the whole process about the excitation of chlorophyll, and now let's proceed on the process of photosynthesis. So I am sure you understood the previous videos, and if you were together with me, now I am sure that you will understand even this lecture. So in short, photosynthesis is the process by which plant synthesizes its own food, and for this case it can be summarized by this equation. And from this equation, as you can see, it takes 6 carbon dioxide molecules, 12 water molecules, then releases a carbohydrate molecule. So all of these 6 carbons in the carbohydrate molecule, they are coming from the carbon dioxide, and then we have 12 hydrogen here. We have 12 hydrogen, and then you have 6 oxygen, and from there, this is carbohydrate. From there we have 6 oxygen molecule and water, 6 molecules of water. So now somebody can ask you that this is the actual question for photosynthesis, and there are some of the equations which they don't show these 6 molecules of water. So if the equation does not show this 6 water molecules released and 12 water molecules used during photosynthesis, that's not the true equation of photosynthesis. So in this equation, as you can see, that water is consumed and is also released during photosynthesis, but the net change that 12 molecules of water they are consumed and 6 molecules of water they are released. So one among the byproducts of photosynthesis is water, but because the few molecules of water are released and many molecules of water they are taken up during the process of photosynthesis, we are saying that the net change during photosynthesis is that photosynthesis requires water. So it requires water and it gives out some of the water molecule. However, because the amount of water released is small as compared to the amount of water consumed, the net change is that photosynthesis requires water, or photosynthesis consumes water. So now from here we can give few facts that where did this oxygen comes from, because most of people they could say that this oxygen maybe comes from, let's say this oxygen comes from a certain molecule. Let's say maybe oxygen comes from water, and then the remaining hydrogen combined with carbon dioxide to form carbohydrate. And the real fact about this equation and the true process of photosynthesis can be discussed in these hints here below. So we are saying that the carbohydrate is glucose and the water appear in both sides of the equation, because 12 molecules of water are consumed and 6 molecules are newly formed during photosynthesis. And what you can say that photosynthesis is essentially a process of energy transduction. Light energy is converted to a chemical energy through various stages. The 2 stages of photosynthesis are light dependent, or sometimes it is shortly called as light reaction, and light independent stage, which is sometimes called as dark reaction. So as we shall discuss later, I can just even tell you the questions which can be asked in this range, because this is where most of the teachers they start to ask questions on the process of photosynthesis. So here what you can say is that the plant, see, I was just trying to adjust this so as to fit my screen. So plants in photosynthesis is making sugar using carbon dioxide and hydrogen from water. Carbon dioxide and hydrogen from water. This requires energy and hydrogen, which are provided by the light dependent reaction, which make ATP and reduce the NADP. So energy is in form of reduced energy is in the form of ATP, and hydrogen is carried in the form of reduced NADP. So ATP is an energy carrier and NADP is a hydrogen carrier. So the reaction of light dependent stage occur in the thylakoid membrane of chloroplast. They occur in the thylakoid membrane. We shall see later on the difference between the light and dark reactions. So light dependent stage involves the splitting of water by light, that is photolysis of water. In this process, ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate, is combined with inorganic phosphate, which is written as P, to make ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So this addition of phosphorus is termed as phosphorylation. If we add, or when we add phosphorus to a certain molecule, we call that process as phosphorylation. So because this process takes place in the presence of light, in photosynthesis, the energy used to bond another phosphate to ADP is supplied by light, and the process is therefore called photophosphorylation. So the word photo in before phosphorylation just simply means that the energy used during that process comes from light, and the process occurs during light. We shall see later the difference between photophosphorylation and other kind of phosphorylation, that is making ATP during respiration. Thus this is not a photorespiration. This is photo. This is thus phosphorylation. Phosphorylation. Photophosphorylation. Thus, photophosphorylation is the process of ATP formation from ADP and inorganic phosphate in the presence of sunlight by using energy from sunlight in chloroplast. So this is the simple definition of photophosphorylation. How can you define photophosphorylation? The process of making ATP, the process of formation from ADP, and the formation of ATP from ADP and the inorganic phosphate in the presence of sunlight, or by using energy from sunlight in chloroplast. Now, from there we are producing ATP, and as we said before that the dark reaction requires ATP and the reduced NADP. So now where the reduced NADP comes from? Reduced NADP is made from NADP. So NADP is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. So nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate requires addition of hydrogen in the process called reduction. Reduction can be defined, one among its definition is the addition of hydrogen. So the hydrogen comes from water. So when water is broken down by the light energy to produce hydrogen and oxygen, hydrogen combined with the NADP so as to be carried to the dark reaction, and oxygen is released as the byproduct of photosynthesis. So oxygen is just producing the light reaction during photolysis of water. So the hydrogen comes from water. This also requires energy which is provided by light. So the process of adding hydrogen to NADP, making it reduced or making it NADPH2, requires energy, and the energy is provided by light. So if you ask about the role of light during photosynthesis, light provides energy for photolysis of water. Light also provides energy for reduction of NADP. Then light also supplies energy for the excitation of the chlorophyll in the photosystems, as we discussed yesterday, that the photosystems or the reactive centers, they requires light so as to excite the electron to high energy level. So the rule of ATP and reduced NADP is simply to carry the energy and hydrogen into light independent reaction which follows. So when light shines on photosystem 1 and 2, high energy electrons are released by chlorophyll molecule in the photosystem. It is their energy from these electrons that is used in making ATP and reduced NADP, as will be explained later. So here let's simply see the mechanism of photophosphorylation. How does it happen? So this is the generalized mechanism. This is the generalized mechanism. From here to here is just generalized. Then we shall go to see on the types and how each type of photophosphorylation takes place or occurs. Now in the part of mechanism, we are saying that first, an electron from photosystem 608 or photosystem 700 is boosted to a higher energy level. That is, an electron from photosystem 1 or photosystem 2 is boosted to higher energy level. So electron, when it is boosted to higher energy level, they don't fall back to the photosystems, but instead they are captured by the electron acceptors, which can be X or Y. So X or Y, they are letters which are used by the author of the book, that they are electron acceptors X or Y. So the electron acceptor is thus reduced, and a positive charge or oxidized chlorophyll molecule is left in the photosystem. So the electron then travel downhill in energy term, and when it travel downhill, manake inakuwa kama inashuka mteremko. There it does not only travel downhill, but it also releases energy. So from one electron acceptor to another in a series of oxidation reduction, that is what we call it as redox reaction. So the energy lost during this energy flow is coupled. Coupled means is collected to form ATP. So electron inapokuwa inatoka kwenye electron acceptor inashuka kwenda kwenye electron acceptor mbalimbali by redox reaction. Energy inayokuwa released pale inakuwa coupled, inakusanywa kwenda kutengeneza ATP. So the pathway followed by electrons can be cyclic, returning to it where it began, or non-cyclic, ending at NADP. So when electrons are added to NADP, it is changed to reduced NADP. And sometimes here reduced NADP can be written as NADPH2 or NADPH plus hydrogen ion. So from this fact that the electron can go back to the original place or to the photosystem where they are ejected, or the electrons can find another path to the NADP, and there they cause the NADP to become reduced. We have two types of photophosphorylation depending on this fact. So if the electrons they are coming back, if the electrons are coming back to the original place, that is what we call is cyclic. So the pathway followed by electron can be cyclic, returning to where it began, or non-cyclic, ending at NADP. So when the electrons they are turning back to the original position, that is what we call cyclic photophosphorylation. And if the electrons they don't turning back to the original position, that is what we call non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So what we can say here is that we are starting with non-cyclic because cyclic is simply as a part of non-cyclic. So in non-cyclic photophosphorylation, we define it is the normal process of this is not photorespiration, it is a photophosphorylation. Phosphorylation. So it is the normal process of photophosphorylation. It is the normal process of photophosphorylation in which the electron expelled by the excited photocenter does not return to it. So this is simply the definition of non-cyclic. Electron expelled by the excited photocenter, they don't return to its original position. It is carried out in the collaboration of both photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. So photosystem 1 on itself cannot carry out the process cannot carry out the process of non-cyclic photophosphorylation until the presence of photosystem 2. So now mechanism of this: excited electrons from photosystem 180, that is photosystem 2, and photosystem 170, that is photosystem 1, reduce electron acceptor X and Y respectively, so that photosystem 180, that is photosystem 2, and photosystem 1 become positively charged or oxidized. So the electron donor, which provided the replacement electron for photosystem 2, is water. Now water is split, releasing electron into photosystem 180, that is photosystem 2. Hydrogen ions and oxygen are released. So the hydrogen ion is the one which go to reduce NADP, and oxygen released is released as the byproduct of photosynthesis. So oxygen is just released out of the plant as the byproduct. Hydrogen is used to reduce NADP. So electron flow from X, now we shall see later on the diagram, electron flow from X along the chain of electron carrier, losing a little energy each time they move from one carrier to the next. Eventually they fill the positive hole left in P 170, and the energy from this flow is coupled to ATP production. So it is where the ATP is produced from the electron flow from electron acceptor X along the chain of the electron carrier. So electron also pass downhill in energy time from Y to NADP along a chain of electron carrier and combine with the hydrogen ion to form from water to form reduced NADP. So we shall see on the diagram how this happens, because the electron from photosystem 2, they go to be accepted by the electron acceptor X, then from photosystem 1 electron acceptor Y, and then those from photosystem 2, they travel downhill releasing energy which is coupled into ATP, and those from the photosystem 1, they go to be accepted by the NADP to form the reduced NADP. So the overall equation for non-cyclic photophosphorylation can be seen like this. We have water here, we have NADP which is oxidized, and then we have 2 ADP and inorganic phosphate. In the presence of light energy and chlorophyll, here we have half molecule of oxygen, we have reduced NADP, and then we have ATP. So ATP and reduced NADP, they are important for the dark reaction of photosynthesis, but this oxygen is released the byproduct of photosynthesis. So now let's go to look on the cyclic phosphorylation. It is the process of phosphorylation in which electron expelled by the excited photocenter is returned to it after passing through a series of electron carrier. So it involves photosystem 1 only. That's one among the difference between. And in the part of mechanism here, in cyclic photophosphorylation, electrons are excited from photosystem 170 and reduce electron acceptor Y. Electrons from Y are recycled back to photosystem 170 via another chain of electron carrier. As the electron pass down here the chain, the excitation energy is coupled to ATP production, just as in non-cyclic photophosphorylation. We have few points to note here before going to the diagram. That first is that the major importance of cyclic photophosphorylation is that to produce extra ATP, because cyclic phosphorylation cannot produce NAD, so it just only produces ATP. In non-cyclic photophosphorylation, no oxygen formed since there is no photolysis of water. So now let's go to the diagram here. Let's go to our diagram. So as you can see this diagram, first just look on this part and then we shall discuss this part later. So if you are looking at this diagram, this is photosystem 2 and this is photosystem 1. Here we have a water molecule. Here we have electron acceptor X, electron acceptor Y. And here is the energy. These lines, vertical line just means energy. So here electron from photosystem 2, when light shines on photosystem 2, electrons are ejected and they are accepted by the electron acceptor X. And light shines on photosystem 1, electrons are ejected and they are accepted by the electron receptor Y. And this is the mechanism which is explained in non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Why is it non-cyclic? Because electrons from here, they jump to this and then they fall back here, and the electrons from here, they jump to this Y and then they go there. So they don't rotate, or they are not recycled back to their original position. That's why it is termed as non-cyclic. So electron here, when they are accepted by the X, they travel downhill, and when they are traveling downhill in this dark line, they are losing energy. When they transfer here in this dark line, there are a series of electron acceptors. So here there is a transfer of electron by series of oxidation reduction reactions, and the energy lose when these electrons they go to replace the electron lost in the photosystem 1. That energy lost is coupled into ATP production, and it's where the ATP is produced. Now this is the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Electrons ejected from here, they are received by X, they fall back to photosystem 1. Electrons ejected from here, they are received by Y, and then they go to reduce NAD. As you can see here, 2 NADP from plus 4 electron plus hydrogen to get reduce the NADP. So hydrogen comes from water and it takes the root, as you can see here, and oxygen, this oxygen is released as a byproduct, and here is water. So light also is used to break this water. It provides 4 electrons to photosystem 2 to replace the 4 electrons which were ejected to the X, and here those 4 electrons, they go to replace the 4 electrons ejected in the photosystem 1, and then this one will end up to be neutral, this to be neutral, and that NADP will end up to be reduced. So as you can see, this is the explanation of the diagram, and in this diagram below here, this is just the thylakoid membrane. This is stroma, and this is inside of the thylakoid. So means in the thylakoid membrane, here is the lumen of the thylakoid membrane, this is the lumen, and here is the stroma, that is cytoplasm of the chloroplast. So now what happens here is that in the stroma is where there is the light harvesting complex, LHC, light harvesting complex, which we discussed earlier. And this is the thylakoid membrane, which is phospholipid bilayer. So now we have water molecule here. When it is broken down by light from the light harvesting complex, because the light harvesting complex collects light to the photocenters, and the photosystem 1 and the photosystem 2, they are photocenters. So when the light shines on the light harvesting complex, light is collected to here. Here water molecule is broken down, and then 4 electrons, they are released to photosystem 2 to replace the electrons ejected, because when this light illuminates this photosystem 2, it also illuminates photosystem 1. So at the same time, the electron is ejected from photosystem 1 to go to reduce in ADP, and at the same time the electrons ejected from the photosystem 2, they go to replace electrons in the photosystem 1. So as you can see here, the root of electron, that electrons from here, they go to reduce in ADP in the presence of enzyme. However, the books which we are using, they don't identify, they do not identify this enzyme, which enzyme is this, but they just say the enzyme, because this is from biological science. So the electrons from photosystem 1, they pass through the electron carrier, and then they reduce the NADP. And also the electrons from photosystem 2, they pass through the electron carrier. Here they are losing energy, which is coupled into ATP, and then they pass through electron carriers to replace the electron lost in the photosystem 1. And here, as you can see, that water undergo photolysis to replace the electron lost in the photosystem 2. So this is just the diagram of the thylakoid membrane, summarizing about the whole process taking place during light reaction. So what remains here is just the comparison of these two processes, cyclic and non-cyclic. So as you can see here in our table, we have a criteria, and then we have criteria, and then we have non-cyclic and cyclic. So for example, pathway of electron, here is non-cyclic, here is cyclic. First electron donor, here is water, here is photosystem 1. Last electron donor, NADP, here, last electron acceptor, here is NADP and here is photosystem 1, because the electron they are recycled back. Product, here we have used for ATP, reduced in NADP, and the waste product is the oxygen, which is not used. And in the cyclic we have only used for ATP. Photosystems involved, here we have photosystem 1 and 2, and in the cyclic we have photosystem 1 only. And in terms of mechanism, non-cyclic is connected with the photolysis of water and liberates oxygen, while in cyclic it is not connected with photolysis of water, and therefore no oxygen released or evolved. In terms of condition, non-cyclic, it takes place under optimum light aerobic condition and sufficient quantities of oxygen, of carbon dioxide. And cyclic, it operates under low light intensity, anaerobic condition, and the poor availability of carbon dioxide. In terms of dominance, it is dominant. Non-cyclic is dominant in green plant, while cyclic is dominant in photosynthetic bacteria. In terms of inhibition, the non-cyclic one is inhibited by DCMU. We shall discuss later. This DCMU is one among the factors affecting photosynthesis. So just be with me in the next videos. We shall discuss about this chemical DCMU and how can it inhibit the process of non-cyclic photophosphorylation. But cyclic, it is not inhibited by the DCMU. And all of this table is taken from reference number 1 and number 2. Number 1 is biological science and number 3 is Chandi. But here we have some of the similarities between cyclic and non-cyclic. Both require light energy for excitation of electron. In both, there is movement of electron from one carrier to another. Then they both produce ATP for coupling of energy during electron movement. And we have some of the requirement of the light reaction. Light reaction requires sunlight, requires chlorophyll, requires water, inorganic phosphate, adenosine diphosphate, and NADP, that is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. In terms of end product, we have reduced the NADP and ATP. So they reduce the NADP and ATP, simply they are used in the dark reaction to produce carbohydrate. They are very important. So in this video we are ending here, and just subscribe my channel, join my Telegram group, and then we shall meet in the next video where we shall discuss the light independent stage or light independent reaction of the photosynthesis. So I just wish you nice studies and subscribe my channel for more and more videos. Thank you.